Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
good
Yes,
morning.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning, good morning, good
Yes, good
morning.
morning.
Yes, good morning. Okay, so may I call on to my partner? Let's begin this, shall we?
Hello and good morning, everyone.
Okay. Okay, so a cold and cuddly morning to each and everyone, to every taga-ed out there listening and watching this live stream. A very pleasant morning to each and every one of you. So let us begin this program from a quote, with a quote rather. A wise woman once said, "Parang lahat ng inyong budget puro research. Baliw na baliw kayo sa research. Aanin niyo ba yung research?" Today, we will answer these questions. Why we, as pre-service and soon-to-be teachers, should invest and be crazy about research. Am I right, partner?
Exactly. I love that quote. I think everyone recognizes the person who said that
Yes,
because
definitely.
she's viral these days.
Of course. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I agree. We could ponder upon what the English scientist Michael Faraday said about pushing the frontiers of knowledge. He said, "Shall we educate ourselves in what is known, and then casting away all we have acquired, turn to ignorance for aid to guide us amongst the unknown?"
Indeed, yes, partner. Let us all be active agents of nation building by creating a foundation for our nation, enriched with research based solutions in addressing contemporary adversities we face day by day.
Yes, research plays a key role in problem solving by helping us make well informed decisions through the latest information because with research, we always have new discoveries. So I am Elizabeth Lobriza.
And I am one of your hosts as well, JV Ryan, J Babas, nagbabalik ang inyong lingkod. To formally begin our program, let us pledge our allegiance to the flag by singing the Philippine national anthem.
Which will then be followed by giving grace to the Lord, to be led by Rosibel Pabiano, Secretary, Teaching Internship Organization.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagalang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iinit, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di matitigil. Lumalang araw ng walang pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya na pagkay mga amin, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
I would like to ask everyone to bow their heads, close their eyes, and feel the presence of our Lord. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the wonderful day that you endowed for us to gather and learn today. Father God, we are grateful for everything. We thank you for the gift of life and love through your Holy Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for your constant generosity of everyday blessings that sustain and satisfy us. We thank you that you are always present to guide and uphold us in everything we do. Lord God, we ask for your forgiveness for our sins and shortcomings, and we express our gratitude because you made this event possible, and which will help us enrich our knowledge from the lectures and discussions that our speaker will share today. Hence, we ask for your guidance all throughout this webinar. May you bestow wisdom on our speakers so that they can deliver their lectures spontaneously and effectively. Furthermore, we ask for a gift of discernment so that we may be able to comprehend and grasp the significant ideas and information that the speakers will impart to us. May all this learning deepen our understanding and enhance our skills in the field. May all this enrichment somehow further the gifts you have bestowed upon us so that we may become of good help and service to you and your people. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you and ask for all these things. Amen.
So, everyone, at this juncture of our program, to open our event, may we have our beloved Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Ricky Magno, for our opening remarks. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, JB. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're very much audible and clear.
Thank you. To the Wonder Twins, I would usually call them the Wonder Twins of the College of Education, Dr. Amabel Shason, the Associate Dean of the undergraduate level, and Dr. Rosemary G. Filimon, our College Secretary for the undergraduate level, and the indefatigable team of Dr. Eleanor Hamero, the Chair of Professional Education, Dr. Danilo Pareño, the Director of Integrated Laboratory School, with Professor Mary June Pineda, the Division Chair of Elementary Teacher Training, and Dr. Sherilyn Delgado, the Division Chair of Secondary Teacher Training. To our dear colleagues in the teaching profession, and most of all, to our students who are here today, and to our invited resource person who will be appropriately introduced later, a pleasant morning to everyone. As I stated in the previous engagement, the year 2013 saw the birth of an innovative curricular reforms in our educational system. That was the enactment of Republic Act 1053-3, otherwise known as the Enhanced Basic Education Curriculum of 2013. To the graduating batch, please take note of this. I'm sure this will come out in the board exam. Republic Act 1053-3, the Enhanced Basic Education of 2013. The key points of the new policy were preparation for higher education and eligibility for entering domestic and overseas higher educational institutions, and immediate employability of graduating students. Consequently, the higher education curricula were significantly revised and modified to prepare each of our learners to become a holistically developed Filipino. The implementation of the Enhanced Basic Education Curriculum started last 2012. And yours truly, very lucky. I've been a trainer since 2012 up to the grade 12 senior high school and the rest of the faculty in the college. So we are in a better perspective to understand what is happening in our educational system. The first batch of K-12 learners are now in their terminal semester in their tertiary education this academic year, 2021-2022. I'm referring to your batch. On our part, as a tertiary educational institution, we constantly innovate and evolve rather, in the attainment of our goals relative to our teacher education program. We already conducted a consultative meeting on the implementation of our experiential learning courses, which is a prerequisite of our teaching internship program last August 24, 2021, with our distinguished fellows from the Department of Education. We have Dr. Rovel Salcedo, the Education Supervisor Specialist of DepEd Region 6, Dr. Zaldi Tondo, the Assistant Principal 2 of Oto National High School, and Dr. Susana Villa of Iloilo Central Elementary School, in order for our course facilitators and cooperating teachers to acclimatize with the DepEd practices. Likewise, we had our teaching internship orientation with our graduating students last February 14, 2022. And moreover, we find it very appropriate also to have our online meeting with the heads of our cooperating schools, which we conducted last March 7. As we all know, research is a requirement of the course. Before a student graduate, they need to come up with an action research. This is in accordance with what is required in the CHED Memorandum Order, as well as in congruence with our university vision of becoming a research university. Thus, we need to equip our students with the necessary skills, particularly in the conduct of action research, and of course, to acclimatize them, our students, to the culture and practices of the Department of Education, your would-be employers, my dear students. This is the very reason why we initiated this webinar on classroom-based research. In closing, I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude and commendation to all of you for your active engagement in this kind of academic pursuit. Thank you very much. Good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sir Magno, for your warm words of welcome and encouragement to each one of us who are here today, hoping to be more enlightened and educated on crafting our action research. So, fellow practice teachers, let us keep in mind the Republic Act 10533, the Enhanced Basic Education Act. Sir Magno emphasized that for us to remember. We are very delighted to have you with us today. Thank you, sir. All right, so at this juncture, let us have our Division of Secondary Teacher Training Chairperson, Dr. Cherilyn Delgado, to present to us our guest speaker for today. Ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings of love and peace once again. So we are happy and grateful and blessed to have here with us one of the most sought after resource person who is ignited by love and service for humanity. He is the DepEd Regional Office 6 Education Program Supervisor in English. He graduated his 2 doctoral degrees, Doctor of Philosophy, major in English at Iloilo State College of Fisheries, and Doctor of Education, major in Educational Leadership at Philamer Christian University. He is a West Visayas State University alumnus, a Master in School Management graduate, and a cum laude graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. We are happy to note that at present, he is a part-time faculty of the College of Education Graduate School for Master in School Management, and at the same time, University Distance Education. He is also a part-time graduate school faculty of the Doctor of Education in English Language Teaching. He was then a secondary school teacher and master teacher too of Mina National High School, assistant principal for academic affairs of College of St. John Rojas, English teacher of Bataan Montessori School, and an English tutor for Korean students at West Visayas State University Language Center. He has a lot of professional engagements and the like lead the WG Beyond Horizons for Literacy, Basic Education Sector Transformation Program Initiative of the Schools Division of Iloilo, Regional Learning Resource Evaluator, a resource speaker, facilitator, and advocate of the Division of Iloilo Quality Assurance Monitoring and Evaluation. He conducted a lot of researchers, and to name a few, we have the development and evaluation of modules in enhancing the study and thinking skills of learners. His innovations include the study and thinking skills module in English, research made easy, and intervention modules for senior high school. and also strong stakeholders engagement for senior high school re-entry action plan of Mina National High School. He was then the vice president of the division of Iloilo Secondary English Teachers Association and division of Iloilo focal person for the division research organization. No wonder that with these achievements and accomplishments, he was awarded and recognized as the most outstanding teacher of the school's division of Iloilo and the most outstanding master teacher of the school's division of Iloilo. So, dear all, let us welcome with love, prayers, and gratitude a passionate, sensible, and conscientious teacher who works hard in the name of service and love for teaching. No other than Dr. Nestor Paul M. Pingel. Dr.
Thank you, Ma'am
Pingel.
Chair. Thank you, Ma'am Delgado, and thank you, Sir Ricky, and all the teachers in West Visayas State University. Thank you for that introduction. May I check my audio? Can I be heard? Is it clear, Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So again, it's nice to be connected again to West Visayas State University, and I would like to say thank you to Ma'am Lori for inviting me again to talk about research. The last time I talked about research was in 2018, and prior to my appointment here in the region, I had several trainings on action research as a focal person of research in the division of Iloilo, together with Doc Dalia and Sir Musura and Sir Amir Torreses. And so most of my presentations here for a while. Most of my presentations are coming from the presentations of our district team in promoting the culture of research in the division. So I'm just so glad that those teachers that I was able to train are now trainers themselves, and that is our goal. That's the beauty of being teachers. We continue to hone our teachers who will become better than us. Okay, that makes us very noble. And then watching some of listening to the speakers in action research, whom I trained, really is a consolation on our part. So that's the cycle of teaching. We develop learners to become better than us and to become better than who they have become. And then the being noble here is producing learners, producing future professionals who will be not just functional members of the community, but will be our consolation, will be our source of strength, that you have done something, that we have done something great in the Philippine educational system. And so I'm glad that the topic is on action research, promoting learning through action research. Okay, so let me just present some of the points, but I would like to also ask permission that anytime I will just request our MC to have some announcement, because I have two other I will just give my opening remarks to an activity, regional activity, and the learning resource activity in a short while. Okay, but they will just prompt me if I will be giving my message, a very short message just for the meantime, so they can start the program in the regional office. Okay, so my topic this time is on action research for all of you, and I'm glad that I'm given a chance to talk to the future teachers who will be making changes in the Department of Education. And it's good that what Sir Ricky mentioned, that in the enhanced basic education curriculum, we have to start developing teachers, starting with in the RPMS PPST, the development of teachers should start in the pre-service And so when they enter the academe, they are expected, or you are expected to be proficient teachers already in many areas in the professional standards for teachers, as to learning delivery, as to curriculum management, and as to enhancement of the programs, including the action research. So it's take advantage of this situation, take advantage of what the school has been providing us, because it will bring us to greater extent, will bring us to a more prepared professional teachers, a more confident one, and later on you will be part of the leaders of the education system. And when you go to the field, you'll notice that majority, almost all of those in the field are of higher position already, coming from West Visayas State University, and that's our pride. And we continue to develop and own this pride as part of West Visayas State University, as graduates of West Visayas State University. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so my topic is on action research in action. So let me start first by highlighting the title, which is Taking Actions for Learning. The main purpose of why we are doing action research is practically to improve learning. Okay, so when you do something to improve your teaching delivery, your instructional planning and design, that is the very goal of action research. Okay, in the field, others are simply working on action research for promotion. That is secondary. When your main goal or your main motivation is to improve yourself, to be better equipped with all these best practices and research-based strategies, then that becomes our main motivation. Then, of course, after conducting a lot of researches, you will be rewarded, as to research is very important as a component in promotion. Okay, that's secondary. But taking action is a response of any teacher. You know that if there is a problem, you have to benchmark and be able to test whatever strategy, whatever method, whatever material that has been presented to you, and test it in the context of your own classroom, of your own school. That is action research. That's the heart of why we take research, why we do action research, because we would like to address the specific context of our classroom, of our own class. Okay, so it's a big no-no to ask a problem in working on an action research. Okay, so they would give me a problem. What's my problem? Because action research is context-based. It's about your problem, and you would like to address your problem by testing something. That's the simplest definition of action research. Okay, so here are some of the objectives of our webinar today. So to identify the parts of action research.
Doc, may I
Yes, ma'am.
ask for a while? Are you
Yes,
sharing
ma'am.
slide, Doc?
Yes, ma'am. I am sorry.
Ah,
Let me check.
sorry po. Because
Can you
we
see my slide, ma'am?
Not yet, Doc?
Ma'am Che, I could see it.
Ay, sorry. Sige.
I could see it.
Sige,
It's on screen now.
Sorry. Sige, thank
Okay,
you.
it's okay, ma'am.
Sorry po.
Sige. Thank you. So we'd like to request our MC also to give me feedback if there's something wrong with the audio and also with the presentation. So here are the things that we'll be doing. I believe most of you do have your existing, or you have developed your proposal, and we'll just double check what are some of the areas of improvement. Identify the parts of an action research based on depth and order, then identify the steps in conducting action research, and formulate an action research proposal by looking into some areas of concern. Practically, this is very simple. You just have to establish your context, the problem, the rationale why the reason of why you would like to conduct it, and the reason why you would like to test something. Then formulate your research problem and intervention, then your methodology. That's all that it takes to write an action research. So an action research is not the whole thesis, okay? That it's made up of chapters 1 to 5. It's just made up of several chunks of it, but it would make up maybe a proposal would be made up of 10 to 15 pages only. Okay, the most important is you can rationalize that a problem exists and there is a gap, and then after identifying the gap, you would like to test something. There is a strategy, a method, or material or resource that you would like to try out. Then use the research methodology. Okay,
Sir, Doc, excuse me, permission
Yes.
to interrupt you again, because I really can't see the slide, and even I see here the messages. Okay,
Para
that's
na, ma'am.
better. We can
Para
see
na, okay
now.
na.
Okay, when see now.
Okay na.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the feedback. I thought it was only me, but then thank you some teachers for the feedback as well.
Feedback.
Doc, you can proceed.
Thank you. Sige, ma'am. So we have here the action research is more on the context of the learner. So action research is a systematic inquiry. So from the two words, action and research, so we will employ research method by testing certain strategy, and these are all actions. So what are the things that you will do to address your problem? So the things that you will do are called actions. Then you employ research methodology. That's why it's systematic inquiry done by teachers or other individuals in the educational setting to gather information about and subsequently improve the ways their particular educational setting operates, how they teach, and how well their students learn. Therefore, an action research is conducted really within the context of the classroom, viewed by the teacher, in the context of the teacher. So that's how you see there's something wrong here. The data is telling me that there's a gap. So after identifying and recognizing that there's a gap, the question is, what will you do then? When you try to look for ways on how to address it, the how there is the action. Okay, then you proceed with the research method. Okay, so it's within your context. So we don't ask for a problem in an action research because the problem exists in your own context. You may also verify or validate that the problem of the others may be the same problem with yours, but you have to contextualize it, okay, based on how the learners learn, and eventually you reflect on how you teach. So an action research is reflective in nature. You cannot do an action research proposal if you have not reflected on your you did not reflect on your teaching practice. So reflection is the starting point of an action research. If you don't see a problem, then you cannot write an action research, or else it becomes like a basic research where you just read some problem somewhere else and then validate it and then conduct further readings. But here, the starting point is how you reflect. That's why the lesson plan of DepEd lesson plan and many other private schools also, the last part in the lesson plan is reflection, because that's the area for research. You have to reflect what happened the whole day. Why is it that the whole month, the same problem exists? Okay, why is it that the grades are the same all throughout the quarter? So that's the time that you have to reflect and look at your lesson plan, because through your reflection, you can come up with a very good action research. Okay, so let me proceed. So an action research is an inquiry to improve practice. It's about the improvement of your teaching practice. It is designed and conducted by practitioners who analyze the data to improve their own practice. So therefore, if you cannot find a problem, you have not reflected at all the data in your class record, the behavior of your learners, the complaints of the parents, the complaints of your superiors. If you have not captured all of this and reflected on all of that, and you did not reflect that I would like to improve in certain aspect of my teaching, then you cannot do an action research. You cannot simply copy any problem and then make an action research out of that, because it is within your context. You would like to improve something in your own context. Okay, so what are the processes involved in action research? Starting point here is reflect. Most of the times, many of our teachers cannot craft or start with a problem or a title because they lack reflection. Problems are just everywhere. Why is it that several students consistently become so noisy? Why is it that these students did not submit the modules? Why is it that this group of learners never had any feedback? Okay, or not? Why are they not afraid of failing? Reflect. Is there something wrong with my methodology that is not suited to their context, or is there something wrong that with the delivery or with the planning? So you have to reflect in all areas. Is it with my planning? Is it with my teaching approach, with my method? Is it with my diagnostic skill? What is it now? After reflection, then you plan. Planning involves systematic way, and this is where research will come in. So you have to plan. What will I do first? How will I identify my participants? Okay, my respondents. What will I do? How long will I employ such methodology? Okay, and what statistical tool or what mathematical tools will I use to answer my questions? That's part of your planning. Then that's where proposal will come in. Then when you will implement already your intended action, that's the time that you are working already on the implementation or the act. Okay, then you go to observation again. If there's effect, okay, then you reflect. Okay, so these are the action research processes. So you observe, you reflect, you plan what to do, you act, you implement. Then after that, reflect again. What are your insights? Then observe, then reflect. It's an ongoing process, and that is what the beauty of action research is. As simple as that, but it requires you employ research method to answer questions that answer problems captured in your reflection and your observation. Okay, so here's our here's the context. Here are the parts of the action research. I would like to present the whole before I go back to the details of each. So the first part in an action research is the context. Okay, so you have to start first with the context of your problem. So where did you get the context? It's with your the product of your observation and your reflection. Then if you are convinced that there is really a problem, that's really when you contextualize it. What really is the problem? You have to be very specific. Is it with the utilization of the material? Is it with the approach? Is it with their performance? What? So what's the nature of the problem? And how did you identify and how important the problem is or an issue? Because sometimes there are some contexts that may not be suited. Others submitted the action research that I checked, for example, effectiveness of this reading strategy in improving the reading comprehension of SSC students. And my question is there a problem with the SSC student? Maybe the teacher would like to conduct a research, but let's check. Why is it that our SSC students do have reading comprehension problem? There's something wrong with the admission. They are SSC. And it mentioned there that the entire 51 one section will be subjected to a specific intervention. So there's something wrong in the process because the context does not establish the problem itself. Okay, so you have to capture the problem within the context of the classroom discussion. So comprehensively discuss aspect of action research, and the setting are elaborated, showing depth and critical analysis of the situation. For example, the teacher has been complaining that there are only among his 50 learners, there are 2 learners who will be who never perform so well, and their grades are consistently in 80, 81, 82. And I said, it's only 2. You don't have to work on a specific action research to address the 2. You just have to do some intervention or remediation, because there are a lot of action researches here in the regional office where the respondents are only 2 or 3 because the problem exists in only 2 and 3. And I said, there's no problem at all. The problem is you did not employ interventions or remediation. It's as simple as that. You don't have to do action research with these 2 or 3, okay? Unless it is very specific to like SPED, ALS. That could be rationalized, okay? So the context must be very specific, and there should be the need to conduct a research, an action research. You have to convince yourself that the problem truly exists. That is the context. Then you have to explain here in the context and bridge the context to your proposed intervention, the rationale. What's the reason why you would like to use such intervention? What's the reason why among the many strategies you would like to use such given strategy like interactive storytelling? Okay, why interactive storytelling? What's the reason for that? Then you need to review at least 1 or 2 sources for that, and then try to bridge it in establishing the suitability of such intervention to address your problem. Okay, I'm just presenting the parts. What are the research questions? So logically organized in the context of inquiry. So what's the main problem? Descriptive, inferential. If there's no inferential, it's okay. Okay, so not all action research require inferential analysis. Okay, then after that is the action research methods. What will you do? There are 4 elements. So participants, okay, data gathering method, and data analysis plan. This is where most of the nitty-gritty will be done, but there are already structures on how you can identify your participants. But there's already a structure on how you will employ, what method will you employ in gathering data, and what statistical tool will you use. So these 3 play a very important role in the term action when you already implement your plan. Okay, so the participants and other sources, there should be details of your target participants because it will rationalize the need for a problem. That's why I mentioned a while ago, if there's only 2 out of 50, you don't need to conduct action research to that because the problem may be very minimal. Remediation could do that. Okay, then target participants, their characteristics, their nature, sampling. Is it the whole population or random sampling? Okay, what is your sampling method? And other sources of data and information to support that the problem truly exists to the identified participants. Clear rationale for the inclusion of the study is given. Why do you choose them? Okay, why did you choose 2 groups? Why only 1 group? The person who will decide that is the researcher, and you will have to confirm with your consultant or your advisor whether it is suited to your methodology. Okay, your data gathering method explains why the selected data gathering method is suited to the nature and purpose of the action research. So the data gathering method is aligned with the research questions, research instruments, and appropriateness of the desired data or information. So your method, you go back to your problem. Okay, is your problem specific to one group? So then I will just have to focus in one group design. But I would like to look into the if there is a significant difference of different groups. So you'll have two groups in your method. Okay, so you decide based on the alignment of your method to the given problem, and of course your statistical tools. And your data analysis plan is shown for appropriate to the nature of the data and information to be gathered and for addressing research questions. So this will now be the support for the research strategies that we will employ before we start the action. Okay, so we need to analyze the data. What does the table or data mean? But not all action researches are conducted using quantitative design. There are already action research, and very common ones now are into qualitative research, because for specific inclusive principles, they prefer, and the stronger the evidence of capturing unique features of our learners in the inclusive education. Therefore, they conduct qualitative, and that's already the trend now, using qualitative design, especially for our iPad learners, for our Muslim brothers and sisters in madrasa program, for our ALS learners. Okay, we cannot conduct a written test to them and then capture immediately their performance level using only the statistical tools or mathematics. There are things that are in depth that need to be captured using qualitative design. And so action research is not just about the significant difference of these two groups. Maybe a specific group could be captured using qualitative design. Okay, so that's data analysis plan. And you will have, again, to go back to the nature of your problem and to how you unfold the problem. So it's very important that you have a thorough analysis and analysis of the problem, and you are convinced that the problem truly exists. And then the next part are just parts are just very easy. What's your work plan? How long will you do the intervention? When will you gather data? When will you finalize? When will you submit? And when will you disseminate the results of your action research? Okay, work plan and timelines. And of course, cost estimates for budgetary requirements. If you don't want to use a specific financial aid in the birth or basic education research fund, then it's okay. You may conduct action research that is not funded by the birth. Okay, so these are the things, the parts of an action research. So you have to establish your context, establish the rationale of the problem, and the utilization of your intervention. So intervention and proposed strategy. Then make a research problem or statement of a problem to that. And it's my part. Sige. May I ask permission to our MC if we can have some announcement? I'll just give a very short message in our activity. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Sige, sige. I will just leave first. I'll just give a short message.
Sure, sir.
All right. So that was a partial
Naka-mute,
speech.
sir.
Oh, yes. He's
Yes, sir,
muted na,
definitely.
sir. He's
Yes, sir.
muted already.
No audio.
Come again, sir.
Okay na?
Okay na, sir. He is muted na.
Yes, so everyone, that was the partial speech of Dr. Pingil regarding our action research. So to give you a highlight of what are the essential points of his speech, we're going to do a sort of a recap. So again, the main motivation for our action research is to solve a problem or to improve a situation inside a classroom and improve the teaching practice. So essentially the heart of why we take action research is to address these specific problems in our classroom context. So as we observe the classrooms and our assigned grade levels, we have to observe on what's wrong, and then we have to take ideas so that we can craft our own action research. And also, Dr. Pingil highlighted the action research process. So that includes first to observe, and then we reflect. We do some reflection, and then we plan about it, and then we act. We address the problem. So my partner and I would like to know how
Yes.
our yes.
So we would like to know, taga-ed, anong feel subong maubra na kita sa action research? Like, for real na talaga to. Leave your comment or leave your comments sa ating comment box. Like, describe what you're feeling right now. Are you ready to make our classroom-based action research? Let's see if may magko-comment sa ating while waiting for Sir
Yes.
Pingil. Ikaw, partner, kamusta yung inyong action research?
Actually, I would share to everyone. We have upon observing, because we observed the grade 10 English class, and we saw that the main problem during their online class is that most of the students are unresponsive. It's like they
Yes.
hesitate in reciting. So my group mates and I decided that we would make an action research on how we could improve student participation and student engagement through online games. So these are digital games, Kahoot, and other digital games that we can
Yes.
use.
I totally agree, because upon observation as well from our off-campus setting, some students really can't, like, there are only a few students who keep on
Yeah.
answering. It's the same students over and over again. So we could try to do something about that. And good luck to your research nga
Thank
will
you.
sa online games. That would be
Mhm.
fun, interactive siya at the very least, di ba?
Yeah.
Because doon mo na siya ng trend subong, like the games, it's the games, like
Yes.
esports, it helps sa attention ng ating mga kabataan. So, ay,
Yeah.
wala gid may nag-comment sa aton. Wala pa ka mo ka-obra sa inyong action research, ay.
Just
Ama
one
to.
word. Mhm.
One word to describe how you're feeling. Ako, I am excited, but at the same time, I am like, wala pa gid kami finalize. Kaya
Yeah.
daming pwedeng i-tackle. Kami, may istorya kami liwat. Wala pa. So, Sir Ricky, I think ari na si Sir Nestor
Dr. Pingil is back.
Dr.
Yes.
Pingil, you're back. So we can now give the floor to you.
Thank you. Thank you, JR and Beth. Thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
you had rich insight as to how excited you are. That's the energy. That's the kind of enthusiasm that we need in the field. We are always excited to do something despite the fact that we don't know yet. That's the character. That's the kind of attitude. Just have to immerse yourself and learn from it. Just say yes. I'm willing to do it, and I'm willing to learn from it. Many of the pre-service teachers say, "I don't know that. I cannot do that." You have not yet experienced. Just say yes, because
Yes.
being open to something, to any kind of work, is learning. This is
Yes,
our
sir.
blessing in disguise in the Department of Education in the field, because any kind of work is a learning opportunity. So saying and being excited about something despite the uncertainties behind in our back, just go with the flow. The same is true with research. We cannot start research if we entertain a lot of judgment. It's a long process. We don't know how to start. It's difficult. If we entertain all of this, we end up complaining and absorbing the negativities. And after 1 year, we have not accomplished something. Just go with the flow. If it's wrong, if the title is wrong, so be it. Improve it for as long as you have done something, rather than entertaining judgment. Sometimes the judgment is not about other people. So say we judge. It might be wrong to my advisor. It might not pass the standard of somebody. Just work on it. For us, they are there to help. Okay, research is a collaborative thing. Okay, I will just
Yes,
share
sir.
again,
I
and I just
agree.
like to highlight the
Yes,
way you presented such commendable character, and I hope that all of our
Thank you, sir.
service
Thank you so
teachers
much,
will
sir.
have that. Okay, so can you see my slide?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, sir. It
sir.
is visible. Yes.
So I presented the whole picture of the research proposal, and these are just four. Okay, again, context, rational, your the choice of your intervention. That's the heart of it, the action. Then the research method. The research method is divided into three: participants, your design, and your statistical analysis plan. Okay, so these are the four components, and the rest are just structured. You can copy it, you can work on it, like the timeline and the cost estimate. Don't focus on that. Start with the first three. Okay, establish the problem, context, and rationale. Present your intervention, then your method. Okay, so these are the things that we will be exploring this time. And should you have questions, clarifications, you may present it, you may post it in the chat box. Okay, so action research titles. Let's start with the research title. So there are two things when we work on action research. What's the difference between research questions and action research questions? Okay, when we formulate the title, it has to be cascaded, and we have to be very specific when we work on our action research questions, because the questions will guide us in determining our method, our identification of the participants, and eventually the statistical tools that we will be using. They have implications. So do not ask somebody to work on a question for you, because you cannot proceed to the methodology if you have not understood your research questions. So how do we to write an action research title and action research problem? So that's our goal. So I got it from the presentation of Ma'am Irene from SDO Iloilo. They are the team of action research. We started it in 2018, and then there are a lot of trainers already, and these trainers will have to form more trainers. So maybe next year when you enter DepEd, you will be trained and you will be speakers, and that will be a very good indicator that you truly learn. So an action research title predicts the content. Okay, what is now the problem? It gives us the overview that this is the problem. Is it the performance? Is it the comprehension? Is it the mathematical skill? Is it the scientific ability? Is it what? Is it the communication skills? Is it skill, competence, behavior, or performance? So it will predict the content. Reader's attention. It catches the reader's attention. Oh, this one, he's employing something new. That is the intervention. What is the RTA? What is what are some other interventions? We have what is digital storytelling, rather other than the usual storytelling. So it catches readers' attention, reflects the tone and slant of the writing, and contains keywords that will make it easy to access by computer search. So the title will guide you in supporting or in finding for other sources. But in action research, it's not there's no review of related literature. Okay, you just have to incorporate certain sources, review of certain sources to establish that your intervention is suited to the problem. Okay, so you need that one. So one or two or three sources will that would help you establish the need for the problem, the need for such intervention. Then that's how you will have to establish your title. Okay, so these are the tips in formulating action research title. It should be attractive to the reader. If it's not attractive, it's okay. You just have to capture salient parts of it. We'll identify what are these title. Simple, clear, and simple. You don't have to make it complicated. Anyway, this is not for the sake of the artistry, but this is for knowledge sake, for improvement of practices. And ideally 12 to 20 words. If you can shorten it, better. You can use punctuation. You can arrange. Okay, you can arrange the it should be arranged in inverted pyramid and should not be preemptive or biased. That we learned that, like, in improving the effect in enhancing, it might be preemptive. What if it will not? Okay, so that's what I learned in the recent research fora that I attended. So avoid including the title, if possible, the grade levels, the section, the name of the school, to shorten it. Okay, and unnecessary jargons and non-standard abbreviations, units, or special words. So these are from Sir Roden, who's also a graduate of West Visayas State University and now taking his PhD there. One of our trainers in action research. So what are some of the components or elements of research title? If you have your research title there, kindly check. There are 3 important elements. Independent variable, it means your intervention or your method. Okay. Usually in basic research, the independent variable are the sex, grade, level. We don't need that in action research. If the specific variable is contributory as a main factor in the achievement of whatever the result is or the goal, then you may include it. But usually we don't have to include these profile variables. You just have to explain it in the participants or respondents. So intervention, what will you use? Okay, what will we employ? Strategy, method, new approach, a hybrid of all of these, learning resource, or something unique that you have developed, an innovation, okay, or a simple initiative that has not been tried out, or maybe a hybrid of one tested strategy and then employ another new one, give another phase or another feature of that. I checked several action researches that said, okay, the effect of Marungko approach. Marungko is already tested. Okay, what did you add with the Marungko approach that make it something new? Because in the very first place, Marungko has been tested already. So what I'm trying to say here is you can use the existing and tested strategy, but you have to give another flavor, another feature that makes it very unique to be tested, that will suit to the context of your grade, the learner or your respondents. Then the dependent variable is the outcome or effect. Is it performance, comprehension, research skill, scientific ability, cognitive or metacognitive process, okay, of this one, okay. We will be checking this one as to who will be our participants. So if you have your existing title now, are the 3 elements present in your title? If you did not mention the participant, that's okay, but these 2, intervention and method, could be done. Please present a thumbs up if when you check your title or your proposed title, it's there. I'll give you 2 minutes to read your work if these 3 elements are present in your title. May I check the chat box? Okay. Let me just stop share. Let me check first through thumbs up if you have already your material or your action research title. For the participants, let me just check if who has already the existing or your research proposal. A thumbs up or in your the icon there. Let's check the icons. Your reactions. If you have, please present your thumbs up reaction. Let me check how many. Okay, so Ma'am G, Sir GB, and who else? Only one has existing research proposal. The effectiveness of using visual representation on teaching mathematics to the, wow, that's interesting. You would like to make use of, that's inclusive education. That's relevant. We need that one. Maybe we can simplify it, visual representation, and what is the dependent variable? Representation and teaching mathematics to the deaf. The deaf are the participants, but what is your dependent variable? What are you trying to measure? What will you measure? Okay, so that should be identified as to outcome or effect. Let's start now. Okay, so outcome or effect, because the title, that's a very interesting title, but what is lacking here is, what are you going to measure? Is it the visual representation on the teaching mathematics to the deaf? The deaf are the participants, but what about the deaf? What do you want to measure using your visual representation? Is it their performance in what? Okay. So that's a very good title for this group.
Hello, sir. This is our research title. I am Emma Finn Garcia from Bachelor of Special Needs and Education. Sir, may I ask, sir, if we can use the dependent variable, the performance or academic performance or the cognitive skills as a dependent variable for this research title?
You will have to add there specific dependent variable, but you have to be very specific, because if it is academic performance, it's the entire quarter or entire year. But what will you test to capture such thing? So you have to be specific. Okay, like this one. Model and redirect method to improve word attack skills in mother tongue. So model and redirect method and word attack skills of in mother tongue of learners. Okay, so we will eliminate, or we will just delete improve, because it might be very biased or predictive. Now it will improve, really we are expecting that it will improve. So model and redirect method and the word attack skills of in mother tongue of grade, we will not identify the grade of the learners. Okay, you will identify that one specific learners during the identification of our participants. Okay, so these are very good titles. So the first one is interesting, but we just have to be very specific. Sometimes academic performance is too broad that it requires the whole quarter or the whole or the whole year to be captured. Okay, and it sometimes is affected by the grade. There are teachers who are very good at grading, and so it may not capture. So you need to create an instrument that will capture your dependent variable. If it is reading comprehension, then you will create a reading comprehension test. So you have to incorporate in your title your dependent variable, because that will be the basis in crafting your instrument. Okay, so I'm so excited to read the effectiveness of contextualized big books in reading comprehension. Okay, what's something new with the contextualized big books? Maybe big books could be done, okay, are already done. Contextualized are already existing. What's another feature of your contextualized big books? Okay, so and just you may enhance that one, because what I'm trying to present here is we will test something that would be an innovation or another initiative. But anyway, contextualized big books have been proven to be effective in for reading comprehension. But what is the feature of your big book that will hit the specific problem of your learners? Okay, so there's a lot of titles, theme points as collaborative learning approach, increasing student engagement inside a virtual room. So the question here is correct. You have your engagement is your dependent variable, and your independent is your method, your team point and collaborative learning. But how the question here, when you develop, it's correct, that's okay. But how will you capture engagement? What is your tool for engagement? That's for you to research and then craft. Maybe there's an existing tool for that, or you may develop. So multiplex teaching strategy to enhance literacy in safety and sign signals. Okay, so there are two: multiplex, then the main focus is enhanced literacy. What specific in literacy? Because literacy is too broad. What is in literacy in the use of safety design for deaf? So I think there are technical terms, but I'm leading you to so that you will not have difficulty in crafting your instrument later on. Be specific with your dependent variable. Have in mind, what will I measure? Because when you think of your dependent variable, like performance, skill, literacy level, comprehension level, the next thing that you have to bear in mind, what is my tool to capture this? Okay, exciting. I am so excited to, I'm so engrossed reading your work, but let's continue with the presentation. Okay, you just be ready of another set of presenting your title. So these are the elements of the title for the meantime. Okay, again, our MC maybe will process the elements of the title here as to the independent. Can you see my slide, Ma'am Beth and Sir?
Yes, sir. The
Yes, sir.
slides are visible.
Sige. Maybe after the regional hymn, I will again give message to the what's that? The regional activity Pasundayag for Arts Month. Again, 3 minutes of my message, but they are still presenting something. So my point here is intervention or method. What will you employ? Okay. Next, what's the outcome or effect? That's your dependent variable. When you think of that, think already immediately forward thinking already. What instrument will I use? If you cannot visualize an instrument, maybe your dependent variable is too broad. Okay, academic performance may be okay for thesis or dissertation, but for action research, academic performance, if I were the researcher and I'm also the one giving the grade, that will affect the validity of the test. Okay, so these are the points for improvement. So the participants may not be included, okay, as to our respondents. So let's try to reflect on the elements of the action research. So look at that. Interdisciplinary contextualization and earth science performance of learners. So this is my research on the second part. Okay, please process first. I will just give 3 minute
Okay, so good. Will take over for a while because Sir Pingil will deliver a message on another program. So, okay, partner.
Yes.
Ano ang feeling? Like, nakaruha na kita ga on how to like create our research title. For you, tapos na final na inyo title,
Hindi
partner. Hindi
pa. Not
pa.
yet because we're barely grasping our concept with our action research since I think we just started we did lots of reflections for the past 2 weeks on
Mhm.
what should really be our action
Or
research
yes.
because it's quite a challenge to decide, right?
Yes, actually, like on our end, we were discussing with our with my group mates, and sabi namin, ibahin na natin 'to. Parang hindi na 'to posible because parang like the challenges, like grabe tong barriers of our previous proposition. Although present na namon siya sa amon advisor, it's too far-fetched. So probably we'll try to think and reflect further as it is part of the process, as kanina nga ginmention ni Sir.
Exactly.
So, Sir Ricky, do we have any announcement for our College of Education in the future? Basi mi ata, ma'am, sir, nga ipa-announce so that we can give a heads up to our student body while we are waiting. Ma'am, sir? Let's
Oh,
just
good morning, Sir
yes, sir.
JB.
Yes, sir. Yes, good morning.
There is an announcement from PFCA.
Uh-huh.
According to Ma'am Julene, please inform our students that starting Monday, March 14, Mr. Herosa, our PFCA officer, will report on Monday to Friday in his office at the main campus to accommodate our students who are asking for the official receipt of the PFCA membership and insurance. Okay, those who are in need of this official receipt, Mr. Herosa will be in the office starting Monday.
So again,
Okay.
mga taga-ed, kadto na kamo sa school kung gusto niyo sang ano. Okay, please remind the participants about the attendance. This will
Right,
be
the
the basis.
attendance.
Oh, yes, the attendance. So again,
So it was sent in the
everyone.
group chat.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I hope
believe,
it was sent into your.
Oo. Merong Google Forms na ibinigay sa ating sinend sa ating mga group chat. So hopefully everyone na nakikinig at nanonood sa amin ngayon, take this time while hindi pa nagsasalita si Sir Pingil to fill out the Google Forms.
Yes.
Madali lang naman 'yon, like parang tatlong what do you call that? Sections. Oo, like your name, your section, your email, and that's it. You're good to go. Pwede kayo makinig balik dito. At ano pa ba? At I think
Yeah, so
Sir
the link is
Pingil,
already in the chat box.
okay, sinend na yung link ulit. So Sir Pingil, ready, sir? I think he's ready. Ayan, nakamute ka pa rin, sir. I think yes, there he is.
Hello, Brian.
Okay.
Hello, Beth. That's the last.
Hello,
I only
yeah.
have two messages.
It's okay,
I
sir.
can focus now. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for,
you're
welcome, sir.
welcome.
Yes, very good facilitating skills. So let's continue. I believe you have already reflected on the elements of the title. Again, how crucial the title is because it determines the direction of your problem. So what is your intervention? What will be the outcome or the effect? Then what will you measure? Okay, that's the most important because you have to measure qualitatively and quantitatively anything that is considered to be your dependent variable. So here are some of the examples of the research titles. We have first interdisciplinary contextualization and earth science performance. So interdisciplinary contextualization here means other learning areas in the PBST is within and across learning areas. So making use of its integrative or thematic teaching, that's another term, but they give another meaning or flavor to that, the interdisciplinary contextualization term. So that becomes the independent or our focus, our strategy or intervention. Then the earth science performance of learners, I already have made my comments in this research. What specific performance? What science performance? Is it in their manipulative skills? Is it in their critical thinking skills? Is it in what area in science that we will measure? Because sometimes if it is science performance, I believe, as I said, it's a crucial point that you are the ones, the teacher is the one giving the intervention, but the science performance is based on his or her grade. So because you are the one giving the grade, so that is something that is not external. But if you create a test and then give it to the learners, then it's the learner's performance. Although it's okay for the teacher to give 98, but it's sometimes it depends to the teacher who is giving the grade. So another one is instructional module and research competence of special science class learners. So what is the intervention? The module. Then what will he measure? Competence. So there is a test to measure research competence of special science class learners. Okay, so that's the another sample. So here's the formula. What's your solution? That's your independent. What's your problem? That's your dependent. What will you measure? That's your problem. And who are your participants? Okay, worksheet assisted modular learning approach. It's not just modular learning, but you make use of a worksheet. So it's the module with attached worksheets. Okay, and pre-calculus learners' conceptual understanding, mathematical accuracy, and perseverance. Here, my comment here is, this is okay. The teacher would like to measure understanding, accuracy, and perseverance. So there will be three areas to be as main problem. Maybe the problem here is the learners cannot capture the concept. And most of their, the way they manipulate or they solve is not accurate. And sometimes they, because of the long process in mathematics, their level of perseverance may not be that intense or that great. So the problem of the teacher here in his own context, based on how he establishes the problem here, is these three. But if I were to suggest which among the three is the most crucial or the most relevant as of the moment, I think perseverance is behavioral, so you can motivate the child, you can give examples and something like that, or mathematical accuracy along the way, or just focus on one specific for the meantime. Okay, but I'm not saying that this is wrong. If you would like to capture the three, go on, for as long as you have the three instruments to capture this problem. So the formula here is solution, problem, participants. The solution here will be reflected in the intervention. You will have to explain why are you proposing such intervention. The problem here is does this problem exist? And you have to support that the problem truly exists in the specific context of the participants, not the problem of your other friends. It's not your concern. Your concern of your teaching practice. Okay, so your participants are the specific context of the learners that you have observed and you have reflected on. So these are the four concerns. So these are some of the catchy titles. If you wish to establish catchy titles with Conan, digitizing the reading world, storytelling, and the learner's reading comprehension level. This slide is presented by Sir Roden, but I remembered I also shared this in 2018 to them. So nagabalik-balik lang akon samples ang una, sumungin na sample ko naman, I found it sa ilang slide. So nobody owns anything for as long as we are sharing, we would like to improve teaching practices, then we share resources. Honing hands, composition writing skills of learners through self-regulated strategy development. So what is the dependent variable or the problem? What's the problem here in the honing hands? Let me check. So the problem here is composition writing. Then the strategy or the dependent variable here is the independent variable is self-regulated strategy development. So that's the intervention. That is the independent variable. So mathematizing at work, integrating mathematics in bamboo crafts and numeracy skills of learners. So integration is the strategy where in numeracy skills of learners. So these are the things that we would like to capture. So let me check again so that we have the short break. Let me check if who has this sample creative title. You may let me check the chat box. Simulation. Oh, this is very good. Simulation. The use of simulation games and its implication to student integrated science process skills. Okay, very interesting title, very catchy. Let's just condense it. Okay, how do we condense this title? Okay. How do we condense this title? We'll omit implication. So the use of simulation or simulation games and students' integrated science process skills. You just have to simplify that one. So there are two simulation games. Then the problem itself is on the process skills of the learners. So that's a very good title. That's sample catchy title. Multiplex, that's already for teaching strategy. So most of you would like to make use of teaching strategy. Okay, so some more. Can we post another? Can we post another creative title based on the sample that I presented? Okay, sige, I'll just continue maybe. Let's proceed after the title. These are the creative titles. So you can be creative. You can have the direct title for as long as these three elements are present. Okay, so now let's proceed to research questions. If you have the clear statement of your title, you have to elaborate it and convert it into questions, because questions will be measurable, will be the basis of measuring your title. Okay, so that's one. General research objectives, descriptive research questions, inferential research questions, and action-related questions. So there are four. It's the same thing when you do the statement of the problem. You start with the general objectives, descriptive questions, inferential questions. Here in action research, what will you do with the result of your action research? That's the fourth question. Okay, so there are four categories in working on an action research question. If you don't have inferential question, if near rank or percentage can capture specific concern or problem, then it's okay. There's no problem with that. There's no hard and fast rule that action research should always employ inferential research questions. If you don't have, if you are using qualitative, especially for our special ed learners, then that's okay. They will have to work on this. Okay, so let's have the general research objective. What are the elements of the first one? You start with this study or this action research intends to find out, seeks to determine, or focuses on, or aims to. The usual one in the thesis is aims to find out, aims to identify, aims to test. Okay, you vary your statement of objective. So as your research objective. So here, this study will determine the conceptual understanding, mathematical accuracy, and perseverance of learners in pre-calculus before and after exposure to worksheets, worksheet-assisted modular learning approach for first semester. Look at the objective. You know that he will employ already one group only before and after, okay? If you would like to find out of different groups, the controlled and the experimental group of the different groups, you can mention that one. So it will determine already the kind of method that you will use as you state your objective. So look at the elaboration. The conceptual understanding is the problem. So you need to measure that. Then the pre-calculus, the use of worksheets before and after, that is your intervention of the performance of learners, your participants. Okay? So Filipino, layunin ng pag-aaral na ito ay tiyakin at suriin ang kabisang crossword puzzles sa pagpapalawak ng bokabularyo ng mga mag-aaral sa Baitang 7. But I commented to this title already. Crossword puzzles are already tested as part of vocabulary development. But what's new with crossword puzzle? Okay? Is there an interactive crossword puzzle, or is it a game-based puzzle? What? Because if it's crossword puzzle, I feel if it reaches here in the regional office, I usually will give comment to what's new with the crossword puzzle. Okay, what is the feature of your crossword puzzle that you would like to try? It's already tested. That has been used several times already. So my point is to be more creative, more innovative as to presenting your intervention. Okay, the purpose of this study is to assess the effectiveness of individualized collaborative biology SSC class based on the result of the pre-test and post-test examination. So there's before and after. You can also use pre-test and post-test examination. That's from Ma'am Alerta. So the second part of the question after the statement of the problem is single group participant or two group participant. Is it one group only, your design? So meaning to say you would like to use only one group before and after. But if you would like to use two groups, there's the control group and the experimental group. Okay, you will compare the performance of the two. The regular performance, okay, that is a control group, and the experimental group is the one that is using the ones employing or where you employ your intervention. So look at the questions for descriptive. What are the pre-test scores in the conceptual understanding? What are the post-test scores? You can also say, what are the pre-test and post-test scores of learners? You can just have it in one statement, okay? But if you would like to be very specific, then number 2 will follow, the pre-test and post-test. Here, another question, what's the pre-test and post-test? Could also be that way. What is the mean gain of the learners subjected to individualized and collaborative activity approach? So here you will notice that one group, that is two, the first one here is only one group, okay? They will be exposed to worksheet assisted modular learning. Here it's two groups because one will make use of individualized, the other one will be collaborative approach. So this is the question for single group. What are the pre-test scores? What are the post-test scores? And the inferential question for these two is, what are there significant difference between the pre-test and post-test scores of the conceptual understanding, accuracy of the learners exposed to worksheets of the experimental group, of the control group? Okay, so the difference only, first, the difference of the pre-test of the experimental group and the post-test of the control group. Okay.
Panindo. Ang lika, panindo.
Okay. Now, in Filipino, that's mother tongue. In Filipino, ano ang antas ng pagganap ng vocabulary, pagganap ng vocabulary ng mga mag-aaral sa Baitang 7 using before the intervention, pagkatapos ng intervention. That is descriptive. So the inferential question is, may makabuluhang pagkakaiba ba sa pagbabago ng vocabulary ng mag-aaral after the use of crossword puzzle bilang intervention? So it means it's just one group that they are using. You can predict that the methodology is one group research design, experimental research design. So in the pre-test, post-test, the mean scores of the learners subjected to individualized and collaborative activity approach. So is there significant difference in the mean pre-test and post-test of individualized and collaborative? So there are 4 tests that you will have to try out here for the inferential analysis. And the fourth element in the question is, what actions should be undertaken after the conduct of the study? Okay, or what actions will be implemented or conducted after the results are made or are analyzed? Or what program or advocacy be implemented to capture the use of the intervention? So the direction is you will use for advocacy, for dissemination of information, for what? Okay, so there are 4 things that you need to consider when you state your questions. Your objective, okay, that will capture whether it is single group or mixed group, okay, or 2 groups. Next, your descriptive questions, experimental questions, but the experimental questions may not be necessary if there's a need to know the significant difference. Or if you are using qualitative design, maybe one question or two questions will do. Then what will you do with that? Okay, after the result has been captured, what will you do then? So these are the elements of the questions. So action related. Anong aksyon ang nararapat na isagawa pagkatapos gamitin ang crossword puzzle? So general questions, general objective, descriptive, inferential, policy recommendation, or proposed actions. Now, I'll give you 3 minutes to check your research questions from your title down to the research title. What now are these 4 elements present in your research title as to descriptive, inferential, and policy recommendation or proposed? I'll give you 3 minutes to work on this. Okay. Then after that, if you are done, if these 4, I will be checking thumbs up sign for those who are those who are done checking. This is based on Regional Memorandum 82 of last year here in DepEd Region 6. 3 minutes. I will check the thumbs up for those who are done checking their statement of the problem. Sir Brian and Ma'am Beth maybe can identify those who have already checked their work in the chat box.
Sure, sir. While we're waiting, we'll monitor the chat box. So whoever naka-check na sang ilang action research, please do give a thumbs up as what sir instructed to us. I believe they're still checking their action research partner. Wala pa may nag-respond. It's so quiet. Let's kill the dead air. Let's revive the dead air. Wala pa man sang may comment or nag-give reaction like ang like reaction,
Yeah.
Wala pa. But in so far we have 150 participants with us today. Damo kita subong. Damo na niya, this is a good number na kay pila man lang kailangan ka section sa 4th year. There are, I believe, 9 of us in a section.
I think so too.
I think
9 sections.
9 kili maka secondary tapos ang elementary 2 ka section ED. Ang ESED tapos ang SNED. Okay, that's 9 din man kabilo. So wala pa gid schoolmates, wala pa gid.
Maybe the groups haven't started on their research questions yet. Like our
Yes.
group too. We haven't started on
We
the
have.
research questions yet.
Actually, same. Guilty. Wala pa gid ba because we haven't really like picked out the right problem. Though that's quite difficult. Although sabi ni
Maybe
Sir Go
next week.
lang.
Yeah, we
Probably
will
next
start.
week finalize na at least or may present na ulit sa ating
Yes.
research
We just passed
advisors.
the reflect stage of the action research process.
Oo.
The reflect pa lang kami,
Oo.
I think.
Kami back to zero, balik kami sa ano kayo una-una
Observe.
Observe. Diba balik kami liwat sa observe. Kaya like, wait, ano problema? So ganon. So we have to reflect further on what we will be
Yeah.
observing later on.
Okay. Sige, thank you,
Okay,
Brian
Sir is
and
back.
Beth.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so
Welcome,
that's a
sir.
good. If others have not yet crafted or maybe they are still checking their work or draft or any kuris in their work, reflect. You just have to think:
Yes,
is it
sir.
really valid? Is my problem really valid, or I just copied it somewhere else? Is it really the one? Because the motivation should, the action research, the motivation doing action research should come internally, because this is what you would like.
Yes. Would like to ano sir. Nakat si sir
Nakat
na
si sir.
nakat si sir would like to
Big
ano. So again, sabi niya dapat yung action research nyo
yeah.
intrinsically motivated
Is
kayo.
my
Hindi
presentation visible?
Oh, ayan na si sir.
Oh, okay, sir is back. Not yet, sir.
Ayan.
Yes, there
Okay.
it is.
It is now visible. Sige na sir, I will turn over the floor to you na.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
so we have
welcome.
here the general and these are the elements of research questions. I'll just here now, after the research questions have been laid down, that will lead you to, that will be the framework for you to already think of what will I do in the methodology. But first and foremost, before thinking of what to do, you have to establish first that the problem truly exists. And that is through the context and rationale of the problem. Okay, so these ones are coming from the points or presentation of Ma'am Nems. We also are our partner in the we are partners in the development of the research culture in the division. Okay, how do we establish introduction of context and rationale? So there are three elements: coherence, clarity, and impact or compelling need. So you have to look at, is the first paragraph supportive of, or are the paragraphs really supportive with one another? Starting with the establishment of the general concept, down to the specific problem, down to highlighting the gap, and then end it with, there's really a need for me to answer this. There's really a need for me to use this. Okay, so these are the three elements. So coherence, clarity of purpose and direction, and the compelling need captures the attention and interest of the reader. So your purpose here is for, of course, convince yourself that the problem truly exists. So you can write the context or introduction pretty well. And then your next challenge is, are the readers convinced that the problem truly exists? Okay, because if it's all citations, the first paragraph citation, second paragraph citation, where is the context? Because the context is in your own problem. You have to tell us that you have this big problem. And so based on the data, based on the observations, based on what the literature would tell you. So it's a combination, but it's not all throughout about citations. Okay, if it's about citations, mean to say it's an external problem. It's not your problem. Okay, so you have to work on this for a while. Now, what are some of the things that we need to prepare when we work on our context and rationale? So the introduction is made up of context and rationale. It should be timely, relevant, well-defined research problem. So the problem must be an existing problem that is relevant in the present context. Like, for example, the learners are not returning the modules. The learners are not responding during online classes. They turn off their microphones, or they would just leave in the Zoom or in the Google Meet after when they are asked. If there's a pattern to that and it's a timely problem, then you have to rationalize. You have to define that truly an existing problem. So read or review 5 or more relevant literature, but not all of this literature should come in, should be present in the in your introduction. Choose only the most relevant and combine the rest. Okay. Prepare current available figures or data, statistics about the problem. So what are what have you captured in the data? What is the result of their score telling you? Okay. There are some whose problems is really like the performance of the learners is 85 That's not a significant problem at all. If all of your learners are getting 75 or 70, did not reach 80 for the entire quarter, first reflect, maybe there's something wrong with your teaching. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the learners. Maybe you don't have to do action research here. Maybe you just simply need your reflection. Okay, just have to reflect on all of these. Okay. In support to the existing problem, international, national, regional, district, school, and class record. Okay, so you start first, like when there is data in PISA for reading comprehension, TIMSS, CPLM, the regional performance tells us that here in the schools division of Iloilo, and this is captured also in the class of the researcher. What are you handling? What have you observed? What's the class record tell you? The formative assessment result, the summative assessment result. Okay. Is there a problem now with the performance task of the learners? What's with the written works? So you can ask yourself that, and that becomes your context. Okay. So here, identify probable reason for the existence of the problem. Observations, records, opinions, parents, statements of parents. What are the common statements? So the qualitative, constantly the parents have been constantly complaining about what's the specific complaint. You can put it there in quotation, okay, verbatim. What does the literature say about it? That really distance learning is should be reached in feedback, but no feedback has been given to the parents, and that is supported by the observation of the teacher. So that's how you establish the context of the problem. Why do you need to conduct that research? Okay, it will address reading comprehension problem. It will address other problems as well when the specific problem is solved. Propose a solution or intervention or innovation or strategy. This is now the what will you do? What will you do? Because there's a problem now that the learners really are poor in vocabulary, that the learners really are poor in computational skills, that the learners are poor in manipulative skills in science, in performance tasks. Like for example, now performance tasks. What intervention or innovation or solution will you employ? This is now in your title, the independent variable. What will you employ? It's the action that you will use. Support evidences why your proposed solution is feasible. This is where you will have to read again another literature that to enhance motivation, to improve level of engagement or practice or performance of learners. These are the things. The teacher should be work on collaborative approach. The teacher should is expected to employ active learning strategies, specific active learning strategies like this. And so you combine these 2 or 3, then that makes your specific solution to a problem. Okay, so that is how you will establish your rationale. The context is the support, the need for a problem. The rationale is really, why are you using such intervention? Why that intervention? Okay, that is where most of the action researchers did not pass, although it was it's already submitted here in the region, but did not pass in the division assessment, but here the region did not pass because we are not convinced that that intervention is truly is aligned or well researched of, well thought of kind of intervention, maybe existing, that has been proven already. And educational relevance of your proposed study. Mean to say, if it's not anymore used, why will you employ it? You know that this it's distance learning. Marungko is face-to-face. What will you employ to make it to have it distance learning approach, so you can innovate such thing? Okay, so a description function. So introduction, your context serves as the roadmap of your paper. Establish the existence of the problem. Background of the study, introduce your topic, and then overview of your study. The rationale, what's the reason for that? Why do you conduct such study? Why do you want this study? Short and arresting, and tell the readers why the study has been undertaken. In action research, it should not be that long, one maximum of 2 pages, but we would like to capture it as much as possible into 1.5 pages only. Brief, and it's funnel down approach. It's the same in the research process. And it takes the rest, the tone sets the tone of the paper. If they establish already, if you already established the context and the rationale, then you are ready to design your research. But if there's something wrong with how you rationalize your material with your context, then remember, this may not pass the screening committee. But purposely, you have to write meaningfully to establish the to establish the need for the research. Okay, this is the simplified way of presenting your introduction and context. Situation analysis. What's the gap? Present your literature, 1 or 2, and propose a solution. In your solution, embed there the literature if there's a need to. Okay, so after finding the gap, what are some of the related literature that will support that there's really a gap? Then after presenting a solution or intervention, support that your intervention is truly that suited to the given problem at hand. So this is the simple flow of the content. So what is the problem? General description. Reading comprehension has been mathematical skill based on PISA result, has always been like that. So establish a problem. What is the problem all about? No need of lengthy introduction that the Philippine educational system has a lot of like this. We are facing, just be direct that there's a problem. What's the rationale of that problem? That's for situation analysis. So description, general paragraph 1, tell a story of the current knowledge in the field about the problem. Okay, the use of individualized approach in conducting activities has been the practice of teacher researchers. In the K-12 curriculum, it's there stated in the K-12 curriculum. So that's how you unfold the research. So and there with why will you use individualized and activity-based collaborative approach. Okay, so that's how they present it. Deviation from traditional. Now we are facing collaborative learning. So you are presenting a story that in the past it's individualized. Now we are using collaborative approach, and which of the two really has an impact to learners' performance in science. Show how serious the problem is. That's why I'm telling you the depth. If there are only 2 learners who cannot read, give the remedial reading problem, remedial reading class. There's something wrong with your remediation or your assessment. You don't need to conduct an action research for these 2, okay? Unless there's an in-depth problem behind that. Then you may conduct qualitative research to find out, okay? So nature, and then establish a comprehensive discussion of the problem or issue. What are the different angles from the point of view of the principal, of the parent, of the teacher, and you? Do you have the same point of view that this problem truly exists, okay? Then after that, why is there a problem? You rationalize. So you again present the nature, the situation, and describe. I'm presenting different ways of presenting the introduction, so the details, the nature, extent, and salience of the topic. So this is the example content. So how is it manifested? What are the signs and symptoms if there is a problem? Is it in the class record? Is it based on the data, based on the result of the NAP, based on the result of the reading test? Okay, what are the effects? Student performance, behavior, and health. Okay, so here you present already the data. The kind of approach, it was observed that 60% of the learners could not meet the 85 competency level Though some of the learners could get very satisfactory, excellent results in their activities and in the formative assessment and even in the summative assessment. But that is 70%. That's not 3%. That's not 5%, but it's 70%, more than half of the class. So that's how serious the problem is. Okay. So what now is the solution to this? Gap analysis. So find the gap or the discrepancy of what is ideal and what is now happening based on data. So they present the gap. What's the DepEd is telling us, what is the passing percentage, 85 and above, and what is the current situation. So 70% of the learners do not get the required competency. That's the gap, okay? Present the discrepancy. So what is desired, what is current, and what's the discrepancy? Majority of the learners, that's the gap analysis. Majority of the learners are not meeting the expectations. So that's how you present the gap analysis. I will not delve in that. So here, we will have to make sure that the gap is highlighted. So the learners were grouped. When learners were grouped to collaborate, to produce product or output, research, and solve problems, the teacher researcher was amazed by the creativity, spontaneity, and depth of their presentations and answers during the final questions. Thus, the researcher felt that there's a need for the adoption of another learning method. So you are leading already the readers. After presenting the gap, there's an observation that other than the structured, there is creative side of the learner. And so there is something that you need to find out for your learning method that you need to introduce. So present literature if there are literatures on that. So according to 1995, collaborative learning process, what's the effect of collaborative learning process? You are already rationalizing that that is a creative strategy. Creative learning strategy. So look at that. Johnson and Johnson, renowned leaders in cooperative learning, stated that. So at least 2, if you have 3, then what is needed to answer the problem? So propose your solution. Here, overall purpose of the study, implication of the study in educational setup. What's the implication? Thus, collaborative activity group discussion will be tested for intervention in controlled condition to find out if it can significantly enhance the academic performance of learners when compared to the usual individualized activity approach. Okay, so you notice in the unfolding, it highlighted that the usual thing is individualized, and so many of the learners tend not to be performing so well. The result, 60 or 70 of the learners are not responding, and then the studies in the gap showed that only 40% of the learners can really perform so well, and there's a big problem because 60 or 70 of the learners cannot get this required competency. And so he found out, or she found out, that creative discussion or collaboration among learners enhance their level of participation. And so there's an effect in their performance. And there's a suggestion in the study about collaborative learning. And she ended up with stating that there is a need to try collaborative activity group discussion. Okay? That is how you present your context and rationale. What is now, the next part is presenting your intervention. Describe what is collaborative learning, how will you employ collaborative learning, who will use collaborative learning, so the teacher in this group and the other teacher, okay? And what are the phases? If there are no phases, if it is developmental, there are phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But if there's none, maybe activity 1, 2, and 3. Then what's the basis for the intervention and how plausible the intervention is? So you notice context, rationale. After you highlighted that there's a need to, what is your intervention? Okay, so that is sample of an intervention of how you write the flow of context, rationale down to the intervention. These two are crucial because you cannot develop action research method. You can never work on this if you have not established these two. Okay. Okay, so this one, I'll be showing to you the sample of an action research intervention. So I'll just share, I'm sorry. Here's my action research, sample action research conducted. It is effectiveness of instructional module, but this time we will not be biased. Instructional module, effect of instructional module on the research skill. We will not include improving because we become biased that there will really be improvement. Okay, will not include that. So here in the context and rationale, I highlighted here the general picture of the senior high school, the need for research in senior high school. Can you see my slide, my sample?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. The
sir.
slides are
Yes.
visible.
So that's, I will just walk through you with how to write the context and rationale. So here's the ideal thing that teachers are expected to give meaningful learning as to research. But the observation is that 16 or 50 learners have knowledge in doing research, but there are some learners, the rest 84% or 262 learners have no knowledge about research when they were in grade 10. So these are special science class learners only who are knowledgeable. And so research in senior high school is quite a challenge for those grade 10 completers who don't have background on research. And so I highlighted here some observations that they are afraid. The usual thing is we presented already video presentation, not the usual classroom discussion or sharing of ideas or creative ideas. So here, there's a need, I'm leading already, that there's a need to have a guide. Okay, they need to browse over a sample in the module so that they can follow, because sometimes it's in the discussion, they cannot really capture everything. Okay, so I'm already leading everyone to the main point, which is module as the important intervention. So I highlighted the problem. There's 60%, 84%. Many of the learners are afraid. Many of the learners are not participative in research. And so here, I'm leading you to what module writing is. Okay, Almario. So there are 3 citations. Then after that, okay, I have lots of citations. Then in response to DepEd, there is a need to develop through the LRMDS, the learning materials that would suit the needs of the learners. This was in 2018, pre-pandemic. Only few really are working on the modules, but now it may not be that relevant because module writing has become very common. And so I said, there's a need to establish this. And so I will have to work on a module that is based on the standards of the Learning Resource Management development system. So these reasons prompted, I'm already rationalizing that I need to present another feature of module, that the module is not about write-ups only, but I will have to present graphs, tables, and sample research for them to check standard exemplar in the module. Okay, so that is how I ended my introduction. It's just 2 pages, 2.5, starting with the general concept, then establish what's the ideal, present the gap, establish that there's a problem, lead the readers to know to write about your intervention, to present the intervention until the time that you end up with why you would like to know about to test the use of instructional module. Now, this is what I'm telling you: innovations, intervention, and strategy. The first part, I introduced only my intervention, but here these are the details of how to write an intervention. So the research module showed simple presentation of the topic and skills, and then there are tables, graphs, and actual research samples presented. The module is made up of making use of guided approach in doing research. This shall ensure effective and independent parts in the part of the learner. These are the features of the modules that I feel very different from the existing research modules. Okay, so that's how I present. Then who will utilize? When will they utilize that? Okay, the time duration for grade 12 learners. And then when will I use the intervention? One with the control group and the usual class for discussion method. So no module, the other one is with module. Okay, and then the experimental group will use this module. Okay, they will be randomly assigned. That's all. For the intervention, it's about how will you conduct. What is this innovation? Describe it. If there are steps on how to do it, if it is a strategy or a method, do it. What are the phases of doing it? Okay, then who will use it? When will it be employed? Explain it there in that part. Okay, so am I making sense here in the presentation of the intervention and innovations? Let me check. May I see a thumbs up from the participants? As to the strategies, innovations, and interventions. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Garcia, Ma'am Beth. Okay, so I hope you are following the flow, context, rationale, introduce your innovation or your strategy, your independent variable, then present the details about your intervention and how will you conduct it. Okay, so these are the things that we will be working on with our intervention. Shall I proceed? Let me check those in the chat box. Okay. If you have questions, you may directly post it in the chat box as to the parts of the intervention. But the presentation may vary for as long as it will highlight the unique features of your intervention, description, and how will it be done. For example, I'm the reader. I would like to benchmark and implement your intervention. Is it clear for me on how to implement it? If it's clear to you in the implementation, that has to be carefully presented. Okay, so that is the intervention part. That's part 2 of the action research. Now let me proceed to the third part of my presentation, and that is method. We are already in the third part of the action research, which is action research methods. There are 3 parts. You notice in basic research, there is a part there for literature review. But for action research, the review of literature is only needed in the context to prove that there's a problem, to prove that the problem truly exists, and to prove that your intervention is the most appropriate and should be tested. That's where literature review is needed. So 3 or 4 review of literature is highly encouraged. But in action research method, after that, you highlight your participants, your method, and your data plan. And it will not take that long. It will just take 3 to 4 pages, 1 page for participants and other sources of data, another page for data gathering, and for statistical analysis, another page. Okay, so that's how you will have to, these are the 3 elements of working on the action research. So now let's go to the details of each. The participants and other sources of data. So the participants here, identify who are they. Okay, are they learners with disabilities, learners who are IPED, grade 9 learners, what grade level, what section, and why are they chosen? Okay, so it's not because that's your learner, but there should be a reason why they were chosen as your respondents or participants. Characteristics. If you cannot capture the characteristics, if they are not relevant, like inclusive education, you need to capture that, the profile variables. If not relevant, then do not include characteristics. Sampling, okay? Is it random sampling, okay, or purposive sampling? Or you did not use sampling, it's the whole class, the whole population, okay? What's the implication of the use of sampling method? The sampling method will help you determine whether the number of participants and the sampling method is the determinants for you in choosing your statistical tool. Whether when you choose inferential analysis, what will you use? What tool will you employ for your inferential analysis? Okay, so you have to spell that out as part of your in the description of your participants, because sampling and the number of the participants will determine the kind of statistical tool that you will be using. Okay, so sampling, rationale for the inclusion of your participants. Okay, so here are the data gathering methods. That's not participant, I'm sorry. The data gathering method, what are the phases and steps of doing it? What are the data that you will be collected? Okay, and the method of collection of how you will employ it. Is it one group, simple survey, experimental, quasi-experimental, one group through experimental design, one group quasi-experimental design. Okay, so explanation for the collection of the data, then the instrument that you will be using should be explained. The instrument, when you develop your instrument, go back to the statement of the problem. Okay, what would you like to capture? So what are the steps and phases in working on this? Okay, so here's the example of a research design. So this research undertaking will make use of two phases. Phase 1, the development of the module. Phase 2, the assignment of the group. Okay, and the data will be analyzed, gathered, and interpreted using SPSS. That's how simple it would be. It would take. Okay, what will you use? What will happen? So these are the step-by-step process of conducting your research. It's in thesis, it's the procedure. Then what type of data will you use? The scores in the pre-test and the post-test will be used to determine the level of research competence of grade 12 learners, and the data will be gathered, analyzed, and interpreted. Okay, so method of data collection. So what is the method? This study will employ pre-test, post-test, control group, quasi-experimental design. So there is a control group and there's experimental group. It's quasi-experimental design, pre-test and post-test. So I have two groups. One group will be using the module, the other group will not be using the module. So pre-test, post-test, the usual one. So that is the description, and then I will just have to cite what is that design all about. That's all. This experimental design is used in order to reduce the possibility of internal and external threats, since the respondents are randomly selected. Okay, so when you present already your research design, so one-shot case study design, what are some of the designs that you will have to present? So if one-shot case study design, it's one group. So the use of technology, okay, the use of different platforms, pre-test, post-test. Okay, so one group design. I'm sorry, one-shot case study design. So towards the end is the performance only. So introduce something, then performance. One group pre-test, post-test design. So that's single group. You give a pre-test, you introduce something, then post-test. Okay, that's how another design. So randomized pre-test, post-test design is two groups of subjects are used to experimental group, and the other is in the in both groups. So experimental group and control group, one with intervention, the other one with no intervention. So matching only pre-test, post-test, control group design. So here you need to match the level of this group over the level of the other group. But in the randomized, they are of the same level, then you have to mix them according to the random principle. But in matching, if there are 10 who are in the high honors here, there should be 10 in the other group. If there are 15, the other group will also be 15. So that is matching pre-test, post-test. And the last part in the methodology is a short description of instrument. So in order to gather necessary data, researcher-made research competency test will be given to the learner. Okay, so that's how you are going to use this tool. Okay, again. So that's how we will work on the instrument. Look at the explanation for the instrument. It's just one paragraph. If you will have the details of part 1 is on the specific parts, like the first study there, then that's also considered. Okay, but here, since I just developed a research-made design, I would like to highlight how did I validate it, ensure the validity and reliability of the instrument. Okay, talking about validity and phase and content validity must be undergone, must be presented, and reliability. So you conduct the test, internal consistency, reliability. So that's the data analysis. What are the phases? What are the tools that you will use? What are the techniques? Sample, t-test, post-test design, okay, ANOVA for your analysis. And as I mentioned a while ago, your number of participants and the sampling design determine your whether your test, your analysis will be parametric or non-parametric. So that is crucial. That's why you need to know if your participants whole section or whole population or randomly selected, and how many are they. If it is less than 30, then there is an implication for non-parametric test or parametric on the other part of it. So explanation for the type of technique. So you just have to cite. So there's nothing so technical about methodology, only that you just have to consult whether it is aligned and look into how you write it up. There are already templates about it. You can play around specific template. So here in the data analysis, after the data will be analyzed, interpreted using SPSS, all inferential tests are set at 0.5. It's very common. Okay, so it's a common thing that we will be employing for statistical data analysis. The mean will be used to determine. So all you have to do is to simply explain the data statistical tool that you will be using. Okay, and this is now the timeline of how will this be implemented, and the check and the timeline and the budget. Okay, now let's try to ask the participants before I proceed to the checklist of writing research. This is the nutshell of everything, but we'll have the discussion of the parts of it. So do you have a strong discussion of the existence of your research problem? That's the deciding point. Whether you have a very comprehensive discussion of your methodology and your intervention, but you have not established that the problem truly exists, then that may not be a point for in the conduct of research. That may not merit the conduct of research at all. Second, is your intervention appropriate and timely as needed to address the problem? So time-tested strategies could be a hybrid, could be enhanced. It could be given another feature, another flavor, another style. Okay, so you can work around hybrid type of intervention, strategy, or approaches. Then, is your timetable attainable based on the nature of the problem? How heavy is the problem? It's the entire performance. Is it quarterly performance? Okay, so that's why you have to be very specific, starting with your title. Did you have sufficient discussion of the reason for the choice of your participants? Why are you choosing this 50? If this 50 did not feel that the problem exists in them, why will you conduct a problem for them? Okay. And is your method organized, clear, and applicable? So it's not the usual thesis that we are doing, but we are only employing parts of the research so that our work will be organized and systematic. Okay. So here are some of the criteria used in conducting a research. But before that, I will just like to walk you through the parts of these of research that I have developed. So after the intervention, look at how we work on the research questions. Okay. So there are 4 elements in the research questions, right? So the first one is the objective. So the module in improving research competence of grade 12 learners. Then you will have the descriptive questions. I just merged the 2, pre and post-test results of the experimental and the control group. Then there is inferential question. And the last, what action should be undertaken after determining the effect of this module to the learners. Then we proceed to action research methods. So I explained there my participants. Who are my participants? 80 grade 12 learners coming from the 2 sections, so 40 and 40. So they will be matched, paired, and randomly assigned. So I really did not only follow the existing sectioning, but I really have to match, pair them, and then assign them because they are of the same level already. So assign those 10 with high honors and then randomly assign them, not the usual purposive assignment of the learners. Then after that, I explained why, because that's my section and it's where most of them don't have the background for research, and the intervention for module was the most appropriate. The reason why I'm using module because we don't have the material in research. And learners during our discussion would say, sir, sample, sir, may I borrow your sample? And so I only have one source. And so learners need to have a module or another source for him to refer to when the learners will develop their own research undertaking or finish their own research proposal. Okay, so what are the data gathering methods? Here I presented the steps. Because this is developmental, I will develop a module. So phase 1 and phase 2 is the research process. If it is strategy or method, then all you have to do is to present what that method is, support it with the citation, what are the processes involved, okay? And then what will you do after this part? Then data collection, what is my design? That is the use of experimental research design using the pre-test, post-test, 1 group, 2 group design, match paired group design. So we have experimental design, and I use the instrument research competency test. Okay. Now, the last part is the ethical principles or issues. If you're dealing with learners, there should be proper conduct. You have permission. You have to ask them to sign. So all of these are ethical principles. Then the data plan, analysis plan. So you notice mean, a simple description, standard deviation, paired sample t-test, and that I just use paired sample t-test for this one because I pair it with pre of the controlled and pre of pre-test post-test of the experimental and vice versa. So this is the result. So the entire write-ups is just 20 pages, 25 pages, including the appendices. So the proposal is just made up actually of 10 pages. Okay, until page 11. So that's how we unfold the research proposal. It's practically understanding your research, rationalizing that the problem exists, and rationalizing that your intervention is most appropriate and timely to the given problem. Then present the processes of doing your intervention, then your methodology. That's all that it takes to develop an action research. But the starting point is you have to reflect on your practices and read existing practices. Okay. Sige. Okay, so we'll have the open forum.
Okay, so thank you so much, sir, Dr. Pingil, for sharing your expertise as a research. So I hope that everyone has gained something from Dr. Pingil's presentation. So at this point, we will now turn over the microphone to Professor Merijan Pineda, Chairperson of Division of Elementary Teacher Training, as she will serve as the moderator for this session's open forum. Ma'am?
Yes, thank you for that, Ryan.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
morning, sir, Dr. Pingel. We are so much grateful to you for sharing your time and expertise to us today, in spite of the demands of your work. We are really have been witnessing this morning how in demand you are, and we are glad that you have given us also your time. So you have presented to us very comprehensive, clear, and well organized talk about the CBAR. However, there might be areas from our practice teachers and researchers as well, who would like to clear out some things relevant to the CBAR, and I'm sure you are very ready to address these concerns. So for our participants, for those who would like to give or to ask questions or queries, you may use a virtual hand, or you may use your virtual hand so I could acknowledge you and ask personally Dr. Pingel of your query, or you may write that in the chat box. Okay, so Sir Ryan, can you please stop sharing screen so that I would be able to have a view of all the participants? Thank you.
Ako, ma'am? I'm not sharing my screen.
Sir Tedrick, I mean. Sir Tedrick. So, anybody from the floor would like to ask the first question or clarifications on what Dr. Pingel has shared with us this morning? On my end, actually, it was really very clear. But we have one here raising her hand. Miss Fanny Garcia, you are acknowledged. Kindly unmute your microphone.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning. I am asking ma'am earlier about our research title. So one of our professors suggested that effectiveness should be omitted because it is preempt and intervention might not be effective. So how about this research title instead? So we also formulated earlier, or I also formulated earlier my revised title. So should the use of visual representation and teaching math multiplication skills to deaf learners is a good title yet? So just like this, ma'am, I will type it in the chat box.
Okay, so we'll read the title. So we'd like to check based on the criteria for the title should capture the three elements. It could be very catchy. You could be very creative with your title. Sige. So it's the visualization as your strategy for the deaf. Okay, the use of visual representation on the teaching mathematics, multiplication skills to deaf learners. Okay, we'll improve this. I captured the elements of visual representation as your strategy, and you would like to improve the multiplication skills of the learners. Okay. The first thing that we'll use is we'll just omit the word use. So visual representation in teaching mathematics, colon, and the multiplication skills of I don't know what's the most appropriate term for deaf learners. Are we using deaf because there's a law as to the term? Let's be inclusive in the use of the term. But we will omit the use and then and instead of colon, and the multiplication skills of learners, okay, or learners with hearing impairment. That could be one.
Sir, the deaf term with a capital D and small letter EAF is already acceptable, sir. Or we can either change it, sir. Learners who are deaf and hard of hearing, right?
Yes. Sige, we'll use lang the term that is friendly and that is inclusive in nature.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. But this is very relevant. We need to capture learners who need specific attention, especially our SPED learners. So that is a very good, this is quali and quanti. You may also take note of some development as well, because the progress in multiplication may not be captured immediately as to the impact of the multiplication, but in the process of maybe conceptual, capturing some concepts in math, maybe documented before and after.
Thank you for that, sir. I hope you are cleared now, Miss Ififani. Okay, I actually I have one, sir. I would like, I'm sorry if I missed out when it comes to the participants. How many participants ideally should be part in the action research, sir?
Actually, I don't want to use the term 30, but as to statistical implication for parametric and non-parametric decision, 30 could be the ideal one for an action research. But we have to go back again to the principle of how difficult the problem is, or the context of the problem. Maybe for reading, for example, our remedial reading students may not reach 30-10 because 30 may be extreme for remediation already. So it also depends on the extent or the outcome, okay, or the dependent variable, the present problem at hand. But for the common problems like for performance, reading skills of not the remedial reading learners, but the usual learners, maybe 30 would be the ideal one, so that we can have the parametric test for that.
Okay, so it could also depend on the study itself, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and another one also, sir. Would their study be limited only to their class that they are handling, or it could be across other classes as well?
That's a very good question, ma'am. We have collaborative action research. If, for example, after in DepEd, after our LAC session, there are common things that we have observed in our class. And so if I'm handling section 3, for example, or lower than the 5th section, or to the last section, there's common concern among us. Then we can conduct research across grade level or across our the sections we are handling, provided the problem exists within these grade levels. So we can do the collaborative action research for that, ma'am, as an outcome of our LAC session of the similarity of our problem.
Okay, that's clear.
Yes,
so it could happen that there could be a collaborative also among the studies of our practice teachers and researchers. Okay,
yes,
thank you for that, sir. Any more question from the room?
Ma'am Pineda?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am. Another thing that we need to take note of, for example, if it's collaborative, there should be rigid or structured meeting among teachers para the same ang approach. Cannot be that these three teachers will have different approaches. So they have to say, what are you doing right now to this group? This is what we do now. So there should be careful planning so that we ensure that there will be no discrepancy or concern or gap in the implementation of one teacher over the other teacher. Given that these learners, three sections do have the same problem, but maybe in the middle of the experimental time, you can exchange among yourselves among the three of you or two of you to ensure that it will yield the same result as to the approach and to the consistency of how you implemented such intervention or innovation.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. How about replicated studies, sir? Can that also be? Studies of, like for example, studies that were done by other researchers in other schools, which can be conducted also in another school. Can that be also?
For replicability, for research really could be replicated. However, for action research, could be the basis for the conduct. Maybe what will they replicate is the intervention. For example, that one teacher has implemented this strategy, and that problem, for example, in Filipino, they made use of interactive crossword puzzle. And then in English, in this school, the same concern, the same problem in vocabulary, they can replicate that in the context of English. But I would like to suggest in the context of innovation, what is another version of can we add something new out of the existing ones, so that has been tested already. Maybe there are points for enhancement. We'll check the recommendation of that previous study. Maybe that's the basis for the enhancement, like the further enhancement on the intervention using, then you test that one, the recommendation that was not implemented. Maybe that could be another thing. So you replicate, but with addressing the recommendation of the existing problem. So that's the principle of replicability in research.
Like you mentioned earlier about the crossword puzzles, that it has already been research strategy, but they should have to look for other features.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes, sir. Take note of that. So how about the others? Are there any questions from the floor? Practice teachers, researchers? Clarification that you would like, and Dr. Pingel is just too eager to address that, to improve your work probably. Are there? I could see no questions also in the chat box.
Ma'am Elizabeth.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning, sir. I would like to ask, sir, regarding our preparation for the action research. I'm just curious, sir, what is the difference between theory or theoretical and conceptual framework in an action research?
Actually, we in action research in depth ed, we don't ask for theoretical and conceptual framework. We just have to, we don't present the theoretical basis, because that's really for thesis. Okay, if you can present some of the theories or models to support your intervention, embed it in the presentation, in the rationalization of your proposed intervention. The conceptual framework or the paradigm, the usual thing, ang independent and dependent variables. But then you don't have to explicitly write there as part of theoretical and conceptual. It's embedded in the first part, the context and rationale. As you rationalize it, it should be supported by some of the studies or theories to back up the need or the applicability or feasibility of such intervention or strategy.
Thank you so much for that clarification, sir. Also, sir, my classmates from the BSED 4A are requesting me to relay their questions to you.
Yes,
So I'm just waiting for their questions to arrive, sir.
that's a very good question, Beth. Like
Thank you, sir.
sometimes many of our teachers or pre-service teachers are afraid of action research because they're thinking of the full-blown
Yes,
thesis.
sir.
Uh,
That's in my mind.
yes, action research is the heart of action research is action. What will I do? But I will employ only research process. What we are employing here only is the methodology. We need to have a clear statement of the problem. We have to have a clear method, what to do, experimental design, and statistics. But as to the part like chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 of the research proposal, that should not be the case, or else we are again thinking of a basic research. Okay, basic research is
Yes.
testing and validating a theory, but here what we are testing is really an action applicable to the classroom to improve our teaching practice. If there is no problem that exists, so there will be no action research. But usually there are a lot of questions or problems that exist within the context of our classroom, or even during LAC sessions, during when you eat outside with your, for example, you're handling the same online class. So you say, this is my difficulty, capture that. And then after that, that's the same thing that I also experienced. That's the point of reflection. Maybe let's simplify it. What is that? What is then the problem? Is it performance? Is it skill? Is it motivation? Is it attention? Is it other factors? Then from when you tone it down, that becomes a very rich source for action research. And then talk about what will you do then? So I will read, I will ask master teachers, I will ask my professors, what can we do when the motivation is poor in online learning? Then the suggestions will come in. Take note of the suggestions. But you found out that the suggestions are already tested. How can I give something new to this tested strategy? Then you say, I will implement. After these two elements have been implemented, then organize it using the methods used. Context, rationale, intervention, method. Then you can have the
Yes, sir.
proposal.
Okay.
Thank you
So,
very much, sir.
It's
That
more
was very
simple.
clear.
It's more simple actually, and more meaningful actually. The action research as compared to the thesis, as far as our new researchers would go through. Before I move on, I would like to remind all the participants to please accomplish our webinar evaluation. The link is posted in the chat box. For those who are not in the Zoom room right now, kindly forward the link to those who are in the FB Live right now, so that they would be able to evaluate our webinar today. And this will also be part of our basis to give you your certificate of participation. Please do accomplish this webinar evaluation form. We have one raising her hand from the
We have.
BestNet. Yeah, we have Miss Roselle. You are acknowledged.
Good morning, everybody. So I just want to ask a clarification about the research question, sir, because I saw that there is a descriptive and inferential and action research question. So I would like to ask, are we required to make one descriptive research questions, inferential and action-based research, or can we just make if we are bound to have a qualitative research type, can we just omit the inferential part, sir?
Yeah, I think the question is it really that required? Are we required to have to go through with the 4 questions? Technically, that's the standard. If we'd like to have the complete action research, but it depends again to the problem. If the problem will just simply know as to the percentage of increase of the learners, we don't need to have a significant difference to know the inferential the inferential analysis of that. So again, it will boil down to an understanding of your problem. So if the problem is simply to know if there's an increase or no increase at all, using this strategy, that is just descriptive, and it's not really that necessarily to proceed to inferential if the descriptive has already is very strong already to present that, oh, look at that, from 80 they become 95. You don't need to say there significant difference to that, because your main goal is, did it increase or not? Okay. As to the reading comprehension, as to the motivation based on the checklist. So that is just suggested, but we need to review our methodology because that has an implication to also to the whole process of doing research. Another one is there are some researches now, action researches that are qualitative. So a simple question, and then there are two questions only. What is it all about? What are the findings? What happened? Then the second question will be what will be done after knowing such concern. So it depends on the nature, and at the same time the method that you are using, and the extent of the existence of the problem. Okay, because there are some problems that we really have to find out if there's really a significant difference or no significant difference at all.
Okay, yes, sir. Noted that your research questions will actually depend entirely on the nature of your problem. Okay, so we have JB Brian.
Okay, I will just relay a question from my classmates. One of them asked, what is the prescribed duration to make or to complete our CBAR, sir, ma'am?
What is the, again, sir, Brian?
Prescribed duration. Anong kadugay, sir? To like make
the duration, sir. The duration of their research.
So we will have to review the intervention. We'll have to check the intervention, because if you are to work with a module, you cannot just implement it in 1 quarter because the development is another phase, then the testing of that, then after the development is actual implementation. So usually it would take maybe 2 or 3 quarters. Okay, but the level or the level of difficulty of the implementation of your intervention will determine the time frame. If it's, for example, if you will implement it daily, as to, for example, uninterrupted sustained reading, for example, with a twist, where you will add something there for USSR, for example, if it's daily, you can complete it in 1 quarter, because that's substantial enough to capture the result intended, because you have implemented it. But as to the extent, like approach is it's a very broad method is very broad. So you just have to review the procedure. If it is implemented, how often is it implemented? In 1 week, for example, it's implemented only once, then you need to have longer time to implement that. If it's implemented thrice a week or daily, then 1 quarter will do. Okay, sir, so you look at the level and the procedures. If it's material development, if it's a strategy, it's a hybrid approach, it's a new methodology, an innovation, as an outcome of another research. So study the procedure. If you can implement it so well without problems along the way in the intervention consistently, then you can implement it within the quarter. However, too long an intervention sometimes will also will have the impact to the result. So just check the process. Okay, it will go back to the process, and the timeline will be determined using the processes involved implementing that.
Sure. Just to clarify, sir, quarter, you mean like 1 reading period, sir, no? Like
yes,
1 quarter.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, basi balawang quarters ng year. Like
that is approximately mga 6 to 8 weeks, sir. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
6 to 8 weeks. So if it will be lesser than that, what do you say, sir? Especially if there is already time constraint.
If they are working on, for example, mga 2 or 3 weeks. But if they're doing it daily, then that could be that could yield almost a strong foundation for the result, consistency of the result. But if it's 3 weeks, but once a week only or twice a week, that may not establish the consistency of the implementation of the result.
So you are suggesting, sir, for the list, at least it should be 3 weeks, but daily.
Daily
If it's
siya, oo.
intervention. Thank you for that, sir. Yes. Any more? Yes, Ma'am Elizabeth.
Yes, ma'am and sir. I also have another question from my classmates. The question is it necessary to conduct a reliability test or like a pilot testing in the instrument for a classroom-based action research? Do we need to do pilot testing, sir, for our instruments, or we should
Yes.
just use it as it is?
If it's standardized, then you can just test it or have it validated. But usually we are really recommending pilot testing to ensure the reliability of the test in a way that is tested from the other using other participants. And so maybe 30 could be done, but that will establish also stronger results that the instrument has been validated and has been it's within the principle of research that we cannot really ignore. So
Yes.
it's, although it's simple action, simple principle, but research is there. So there's a system for validation and reliability.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And sir, how do you conduct a validity and reliability test in a instrument in a classroom-based action research?
Yes.
How, sir?
If for example is science skills, for example, process skills, then you look for the resources that will help you craft your instrument. If it's researcher-made instrument, if it is adopted, then you have to ask permission, and then if there are areas to contextualize to suit to the context of your learners, you need to consult an expert to validate what has been done. And after that, the reliability testing will be done. You conduct it among the 30 learners, and then you'll have to subject it to reliability tests.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I will relay this answer to my fellow classmates who asked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir JB, you still have a question with you?
Yes, excuse me. I just would like to relay again a request from my classmate. They would like to request that Imam sir, the chronological order or parts of the action research, para at least guided sila, like chapter 1, what will be like its name, tapos what are included in chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on and so forth, so that we will be guided, sir. And I think it will be also best for everybody, so that at least everyone will have a uniform format in our action research when we're constructing and like typing everything out. Pwede ka
Sige,
pa ngayo, sir? Oo.
Yes, I'll share the presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you so
You're
much.
asking for the content outline of
Ang
the
outline,
CBAR.
yes. Sir.
Yes.
Sir. Thank you.
Any more from the group? I could not see any more hand raised. So I think time check. It's already 11:36 in the morning. I think we have so much time already dedicated in this, but very fruitful and productive time. So anyway, if there are other questions later on that may crop up, I think we could just message Sir Dr.
Yes,
Piniel
ma'am.
anytime for his answer or opinion on whatever we would like to clear out pa. So at this point, we would like to thank again our very able and expert resource speaker this morning, Dr. Nestor Paul Piniel, for being with us and for sharing with us his wonderful thoughts and amazing expertise in the conduct of the CBAR. Thank you, sir. May I return the microphone now to our host? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ma'am Pineda. Nice meeting you, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so there we have it, everyone. Thank you thank you to Mom Pineda for catering and facilitating our concerns. And thank you very much again to Dr. Pingil for the elaborate explanations and for doing your best to clear out our confusions and our concerns about CBAR. I hope that everyone here has learned something new today and that everyone is hopefully enlightened if you listened well. So may these learnings help us in formulating our very own classroom-based action research. Moving forward, let us now hear an impression on behalf of the student body of the college. May we have Sir Tedrick Tave Senosa, the chair of the Teaching Internship Organization. Sir Tedrick?
So good morning, everyone. In behalf of the Teaching Internship Organization, I am very proud and I am very honored to speak in behalf of the whole class or the whole batch. So first of all, I would like to thank I will have to give my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Nestor Paul Pingil, the Education Program Supervisor of the Regional Office 6. And of course, I would like to recognize our Dean, Dr. Ricky Magno, our Associate Dean for Undergraduate, Dr. Amabel Chason, our Secretary, Dr. Rosemary Filimon, the head of or the chairperson of the Professional Education Department, which is Dr. Leonor Hamero, and of course, our DSTT and DETT chairperson, which are Dr. Charlene Delgado and Professor Mary June Pineda, and of course, our cooperating teachers that are here today. So to jot that down my impression in this event, I actually learned so much, and of course, in behalf of the class, I will just summarize everything that we learned. So first is we learned that classroom-based action research is typically is actually as a teaching task, which involves conducting a collaborative and evidence-based investigation on our own classroom routines. It gives us an understanding and the capability to improve the quality and justice of our practices in the classroom. Another thing that we learned and we are grateful to learn is that the action research process help us to understand what is happening in our classroom and identify the changes that can improve our teaching as well as the learning process. This action research can help us answer questions that is all about the effectiveness of specific instructional strategies, the performance of specific students, and the classroom management techniques. Believe it or not, I have actually realized that even every time that we change a lesson plan or we try a new approach with our student, we're actually dealing with action research. It may not be formal, but we should be acknowledging that while we are investigating, while we are implementing, while we are reflecting and refining our approach, we're actually dealing with action research. So this action research, the processes that we have learned today from having a catchy title, giving questions, different questions, which is descriptive, inferential, and of course, the action that we should be implementing in this research. And of course, the next one will be how we construct our abstract, our introduction, together with anchoring that introduction to our related literature and our methods is actually a cyclic process, meaning we diagnose a problem first, we search for a solution, we take for the action of our promising possibilities and monitor whether it is working or not. And then it repeats and repeats. So meaning this is a repetitive process that could be applied in certain topic or on a different problem. It really depends on the context of your action research. And finally, this action research is the ultimate goal of our action research is to promote effective change in our classroom someday. So we don't need to underestimate the value of our findings. We should share it to our stakeholders, such as our co-teachers, the parents, of course, and the school administrators, so that the overall learning experience of the students will be maximized. So to end my statement, in a nutshell, we should not consider this as an additional burden to us as interns for this semester, but we should look at it in the positive side, in which it should be a stepping stone for us to improve and to become a fully matured and equipped teacher someday. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dad. So I'm sure we all learned something today from this fruitful session. So to conclude our event, because I know that everybody is hungry, may we have Dr. Eleanor Hamero, chairperson of the Professional Education Department, for our closing remarks. Ma'am?
Thank you very much, Sir JB.
Yes.
My warmest greetings to Dr. Nestor Paul M. Pingil, our honored guest speaker, Dr. Ricky M. Magno, the Dean of the College, Dr. Amabel Shason, Associate Dean, Dr. Rosemary Felimon, the College Secretary, Dr. Danilo Parenio, ILS Director, Dr. Cherilyn Delgado, Chair for Division of Secondary Teacher Training, Professor Mary June Pineda, Chair for Division of Elementary Teacher Training, my fellow teachers from the College of Education, the officers of the Teaching Internship Organization, and to our dear practice teachers. As early as now, allow me to say congratulations to all of you practice teachers. Why? For you are now on the last phase of your teacher education program under the College of Education here at West Visayas State University. Despite of the struggles, doubts, or uncertainties each one of you went or are going through, you are now enrolled in the teaching internship program. This last phase is not as easy as you thought it could be. Teaching internship poses many challenges: lesson plans to create, instructional materials to develop, classes to hold and manage, cooperating teachers and principals to coordinate with, portfolio to prepare, and classroom-based action research to design and conduct, to name a few. The Joint CHED DepEd Memorandum Order No. 1 Series of 2021 on the policies and guidelines on the teaching internship clearly specifies that in the delivery of experiential learning courses, one of the activities is the conduct of CBAR on a specific teaching learning area in the learning modality employed by the institution. Moreover, the results of the CBAR will be shared with an audience through any available platform. So in our case, the college is conducting a research forum before the semester ends for you to present your CBAR outputs. We are sure that one of your apprehensions is how to prepare your CBAR. Thus, the conduct of this webinar to help equip you with additional knowledge and skills. And right at this moment, I am very certain that you now feel confident to conduct your research and excited to do it right away. So our gratitude to our honored guest, the very able and knowledgeable expert on CBAR, Dr. Nestor Paul M. Pingil, who unselfishly shared his ideas and practices with us. We are very grateful for everything you have shared with our practice teachers, Dr. Pingil. For sure, each one present here has a great takeaway with our engagement with you this morning. Your talk was very informative, and we are looking forward to another session with you this afternoon, this time with the cooperating teachers and the research advisors. Sir, thank you very much. Allow me as well to extend my gratitude to Dr. Ricky Magno, Dr. Shason, Dr. Felimon, and Dr. Perenio for the support and help to make this endeavor a success. To the Center for Teaching Excellence, headed by Dr. Lori Tanalion, thank you for co-sponsoring this activity with us. And a resounding thanks as well to Professor Mary June Pineda and Dr. Cherilyn Delgado for their untiring dedication and commitment. May I also acknowledge the officers of the Teaching Internship Organization, headed by Sir Tedrick Dave Sinosa, and all others who willingly extended their help. Kudos to all of you for the smooth and successful conduct of this activity. My dear practice teachers, thank you very much for being with us today. This is for all of you. This is not only the preparation for your CBAR as a requirement of teaching internship, but most importantly, this is to prepare you to what awaits you once you leave the portals of the College of Education and become part of the DepEd system. You will be bringing with you everything you gained today through the efforts of Dr. Pingil. Since research now is ginapamahaw, ginapaniaga, kaginapaniyapo na naton. I do hope you find this day with Dr. Pingil enlightening and meaningful. May you will always remember to exude excellence wherever the future will bring you. Always remember, basta taga West, the best. And lastly, let us thank God for His abundant blessing. May He continue to bless each one of us. Madamo gid nga salamat, maayong aga sa inyo tanan.
Wow, thank you very much, ma'am, for the early congratulations. May we all manifest success in our teaching internship endeavors. Thank you for the beautiful words, Ma'am Homero. Lastly, everyone, I'm reminding you to please accomplish the attendance and evaluation forms on our webinar. Please don't forget to fill up these forms. So I think that's it, everyone.
Yes.
This has been our research in action, a West Visayas State University College of Education webinar on classroom-based action research. Once again, I am Elizabeth Lobriza.
And I am JP Ryan Babas, and hopefully after this session, alam na natin yung sagot kung bakit kailangan natin maging baliw na baliw sa research at bakit kailangan nating mag-invest sa research. Ulit, ako si JP Ryan Babas. Until next time, taga-ed, have a great day and have a great lunch. Just gutom na tayo. So I think